Arya was a girl full of dreams and energy. She lived in a small town surrounded by hills and rivers, and her days were filled with laughter and curiosity. From a very young age, she loved to explore the world around her, climbing trees, running in the fields, and talking to everyone she met. She had a heart that wanted to touch the lives of others, and a mind that dreamed of doing something extraordinary for the world. Her family was her greatest support. Her mother always encouraged her to follow her heart, and her father believed that she could achieve anything she set her mind to. She had a younger brother who adored her, and she would often play with him, making him laugh and teaching him new things every day. At school, she was a bright student, always eager to learn and help others. She loved reading stories about brave women and heroes from distant lands. She imagined herself traveling to different countries, meeting new people, and sharing her ideas. She wanted to inspire those who had no hope and bring smiles to those who were sad. Her friends admired her for her energy and kindness. They would often gather around her during lunch breaks as she told them stories full of adventure and hope. She had a special talent for speaking. Even as a little girl, she could hold an audience with her words, and her voice carried confidence and warmth. Her teachers noticed her gift and encouraged her to participate in school debates and events. She would stand in front of the crowd, feeling her heart beat fast, but her words flowing smoothly as if they had a life of their own. She loved to perform and share her thoughts, and this made her feel alive. Every day after school, she would run to the nearby park, where she would sit under the old oak tree and dream about the future. She imagined herself standing on big stages, speaking to thousands of people, sharing her experiences and inspiring them to never give up. She wrote little notes about her dreams and pinned them on her wall so that she could see them every morning and remind herself of her goals. She believed that the world was full of possibilities and that with courage and determination, anyone could achieve greatness. She would often tell her friends that no matter how difficult life became, they should always keep their hearts strong and never stop dreaming. She loved helping others, whether it was tutoring a classmate who struggled with reading or organizing small events to raise funds for local causes. She had a deep empathy for people and a desire to make the world a better place. She was known in her town as a girl with a golden heart, someone who could light up any room with her presence. Her parents would often watch her and feel proud of the little fire that burned inside her. They knew she was destined for something special, something that would touch lives far beyond the hills and rivers of their small town. Her childhood was filled with laughter, love, dreams, and endless curiosity. She felt that every day was a chance to learn something new, to grow, to become better, and to bring joy to others. She never imagined that one day life would challenge her in ways she had never thought possible. But for now, she ran freely, played without fear, and dreamed without limits. She was Arya, a girl whose heart was full of hope, whose mind was full of dreams, and whose spirit was ready to shine brighter than the sun. Arya's life changed one afternoon when she was walking home from school. The sun was shining and the birds were singing. She was humming her favorite tune, thinking about the story she would tell her friends that evening. She never saw the car coming around the corner. It was too fast, and the driver could not stop in time. The impact threw her into the air, and everything went black. When she woke up, she was in a hospital bed, machines beeping and doctors talking around her. She tried to move her legs, but nothing happened. A cold fear ran through her body. She could not feel anything below her waist, and panic gripped her heart. She wanted to scream, but her throat felt dry, and her mind refused to believe what was happening. The doctors gently explained that she had suffered a spinal injury and might never walk again. At first, she refused to accept it. She cried and screamed, begging for it not to be true. She felt betrayed by life and angry at the world. She wondered why this had happened to her. She had always been full of dreams, full of hope, and now her body felt like a prison. She saw her parents crying and her brother holding her hand, trying to comfort her. She wanted to tell them it was not fair, that she wanted to disappear into the walls and never face the world again. The first few weeks were the hardest. She had to learn to use a wheelchair to move around, and even the simplest tasks felt impossible. She hated asking for help and felt ashamed of her weakness. Friends stopped visiting as they could not handle the change, and some even whispered behind her back about how her life would be over. She felt isolated and alone. The bright world she once loved seemed distant and cold. She missed the freedom of running through fields, climbing trees, and laughing without a care. She spent hours staring at the ceiling, wondering if her dreams were gone forever. The sadness was heavy, but somewhere deep inside, a small spark refused to die. She remembered the words her mother had told her, that she could achieve anything if she believed in herself, and her father's voice telling her to never give up, even when life seemed impossible. Slowly, that spark began to grow. She realized that her body had changed, but her mind and heart were still hers. Her dreams were not gone, they were just waiting for her to find a new way to reach them. She began to work with physiotherapists, waking up early every day to stretch, move, and strengthen her body, even though it hurt and exhausted her. She refused to let the injury define who she was. She started reading more books, listening to stories of people who had overcome challenges, and writing in her journal every day, pouring out her fears, her hopes, and her plans. She wanted to find a new purpose, a new way to shine. She learned to navigate the world differently, using her wheelchair with skill and confidence. She discovered that her voice could reach far, even if her legs could not carry her. She began speaking to herself in the mirror, telling herself that she was strong, brave, and capable. She made small goals and celebrated each victory, no matter how tiny, learning to move her wheelchair independently, feeding herself, and even climbing the ramp at her school. These small wins built her courage. Her family never left her side, encouraging her and loving her unconditionally. They reminded her that her worth was not measured by her physical abilities, but by the strength of her heart and the courage of her spirit. She realized that tragedy had not taken her dreams. It had given her a chance to grow in ways she had never imagined. She would find a new way to inspire the world, to show others that obstacles were meant to be overcome, that courage was stronger than fear, and that hope could shine even in the darkest moments. She cried sometimes from pain and frustration, but she also laughed at her own determination and her little victories. She was slowly learning to accept her new life, to embrace her new reality, and to trust that the future still held endless possibilities. She knew the road ahead would be hard, but she felt a flicker of excitement too, for she was Aria, a girl who had faced the impossible and was learning to rise above it. She would find her voice, she would find her purpose, and she would show the world that no setback could ever dim the light of a determined heart. Aria woke up each morning with a mix of pain and determination. She felt her muscles ache from the therapy, but she refused to give up. She pushed herself to sit up, move her arms, adjust her wheelchair, and take small steps toward independence. Every day was a battle against frustration and fatigue, but also a victory against despair. She remembered the dreams she had before the accident and refused to let them fade away. She started setting small goals for herself, learning to navigate her home, school, and neighborhood with skill. She found ways to adapt her hobbies. She could no longer run through fields, but she painted and drew, capturing the colors of the world she still loved. She wrote stories and poems, pouring her emotions onto paper. She found joy in creating and sharing her thoughts with her family, who encouraged her every word. She spoke stronger, more confident, more full of purpose. She discovered online videos and books about other disabled people who had achieved greatness. Their stories inspired her. She realized that her disability did not define her worth. It was her courage, determination, and heart that mattered most. She joined support groups and made friends who understood her struggles and dreams. They shared stories of hope and gave each other strength. Arya began to dream again, but this time with a new perspective. She imagined herself on stage, speaking to thousands, sharing her story and inspiring people to overcome challenges. She practiced speaking to the mirror and recording herself, listening to her voice grow steady and strong. She knew the road would not be easy and that society would judge and doubt her. She faced whispers of doubt from classmates, teachers, and strangers who thought a girl in a wheelchair could never achieve greatness. Each word of skepticism fueled her determination rather than breaking her spirit. She trained her mind to focus on her goals, to silence negativity, and believe in her own power. She worked with a speech coach who helped her improve her tone, clarity, and presence. She practiced in front of her family, who applauded each improvement. Her confidence grew as she realized that people were drawn to her courage and authenticity. She began volunteering in schools, helping other children with challenges, giving them confidence and support. She realized that helping others strengthened her own spirit and made her feel unstoppable. She started keeping a journal of her daily achievements, her thoughts, and her dreams. She wrote about the struggles she faced and the victories she celebrated, no matter how small. She celebrated every step forward, every new skill learned, every conversation she could handle with courage. She began to speak at small community gatherings. Her first attempts were shaky. Her hands trembled and her voice wavered, but each time she spoke, she felt a spark inside her grow stronger. She learned to tell her story with honesty, emotion, and power. She shared her fears, her hopes, and her dreams, and people listened. They were moved by her courage and inspired by her determination. She realized that her words had the power to change lives, to touch hearts, and to give hope to those who felt trapped by their own challenges. She became more disciplined in her routine, waking up early, practicing therapy exercises, writing, speaking, and meditating. She learned to manage her emotions, channel her energy, and focus on what truly mattered. She discovered inner strength she had never known existed. She started to see the world differently, appreciating small moments, sunlight on her face, laughter of friends, the love of her family. Each day became a lesson in resilience and gratitude. She understood that life would continue to test her, but she was ready to face any challenge because she had learned that struggle was not weakness, it was the path to strength. She dreamed of standing on big stages in front of thousands of people, and she knew that dream was no longer impossible. She was Arya, a girl who had faced tragedy, embraced struggle, and found determination in the face of despair. She was growing stronger, wiser, and ready to rise above the limitations others tried to place on her. She felt a fire in her heart and a voice inside her soul telling her that she was capable of greatness, that she would inspire the world, and that no obstacle could ever extinguish the light of her spirit. Arya's life began to change the day she was invited to speak at her school for a small motivational event. She had been practicing for weeks, standing in front of the mirror, adjusting her posture, and rehearsing her words over and over. She felt nervous excitement and fear all at once. She rolled into the auditorium with her wheelchair and took a deep breath. She looked at the small audience of teachers, students, and parents and remembered all the struggles she had overcome. All the therapy sessions, the pain, the tears, the moments she had wanted to give up. She reminded herself that her story mattered, that her voice could inspire others. She started speaking. Her voice was steady and strong. She told her story from the beginning, how she had been a girl full of dreams, how the accident had changed her life, how she had struggled and learned to fight back. She spoke about courage, determination, hope, and resilience. She shared her fears, her frustrations, her victories, and the lessons she had learned. She noticed the audience leaning forward, their eyes glistening with emotion, their attention completely on her. She realized that her words had power, that she could touch hearts and inspire minds with her story. After her speech, people came to her with tears in their eyes, hugging her, thanking her for sharing. They told her that she had given them hope and strength, that they had never thought a girl in a wheelchair could teach them so much. Arya felt a rush of pride and happiness. She realized that she had found her calling, that speaking was not just about words, but about connecting hearts, inspiring others, and showing the world that challenges could be overcome. She continued to speak at local events, gaining confidence every time she spoke. She learned how to engage her audience, how to tell stories that moved people, and how to turn her personal experiences into universal lessons of hope. She began recording videos of herself speaking and sharing them online. At first, the views were small, but slowly, more and more people started noticing her message. Her videos were shared across social media, and messages of encouragement poured in from people around the world. She realized that her voice could travel far beyond her small town, that she could inspire thousands, even millions, with her story. She also found a mentor, a woman who had faced her own challenges and had become a motivational speaker herself. She guided Arya, teaching her how to structure her speeches, how to deal with stage fright, and how to connect with people on a deeper level. Under her mentor's guidance, Arya grew even stronger. She started to see herself not as a victim of circumstance, but as a beacon of hope. She was no longer defined by her wheelchair, but by her courage, her heart, and her ability to inspire others. She began to speak at bigger venues, schools, colleges, and community events. Her audience grew larger and her confidence soared. She realized that her struggles had given her a unique voice that people needed to hear. Each speech made her more determined to reach even more people. She started organizing workshops and mentoring other young women facing challenges. She shared tips on public speaking, confidence, and resilience. She encouraged them to embrace their uniqueness and to fight for their dreams. She discovered that helping others gave her a sense of purpose, unlike anything she had felt before. Her life had changed from despair to hope, from isolation to connection, from fear to courage. She was Arya, a girl who had faced the impossible, discovered her strength, and found her purpose in inspiring the world with her words. She knew this was only the beginning, that her journey had just started, and that her voice would continue to reach hearts and minds across the globe. She had turned tragedy into triumph and struggle into strength, and she was ready for the world to listen to her story. Arya's journey as a motivational speaker began to gain momentum. She was invited to speak at larger events, conferences, and community gatherings. People from different towns and cities wanted to hear her story. She traveled with her wheelchair, learning new routes, new airports, new stages, and new audiences. Each speech was a new adventure, each audience a new challenge. She faced the world with courage and determination. But success did not come without obstacles. Some people doubted her abilities, assuming that a girl in a wheelchair could not inspire or lead. They questioned her credibility and even mocked her at times. But Arya refused to let their words define her. She focused on the faces that lit up with hope, the hearts that felt courage, the minds that were inspired. She learned to turn criticism into motivation and skepticism into fuel for her mission. She faced physical challenges, traveling long distances, struggling with inaccessible buildings and long flights. She endured pain and fatigue, but each time she overcame these obstacles, she grew stronger, more confident, more determined. She realized that every barrier she faced was an opportunity to teach the world about resilience. She met other disabled individuals and families who were struggling. They shared their fears, their doubts, and their frustrations. Arya listened to them and spoke from her heart, encouraging them to keep moving forward, to never give up, and to find strength within themselves. She became a mentor, guiding others through challenges, teaching them how to adapt their lives, pursue their dreams, and embrace their uniqueness. She started collaborating with organizations promoting disability rights and accessibility. She raised awareness about social barriers and inspired communities to become more inclusive. She used her platform to advocate for education opportunities for girls and women with disabilities, highlighting the importance of support, empathy, and equality. She discovered that leadership was not just about speaking, but about inspiring action, creating change, and lifting others up. She faced moments of doubt herself. The pressure of traveling, speaking constantly, and maintaining her health sometimes made her feel exhausted and overwhelmed. But she relied on the support of her family, her mentor, and her closest friends. She reminded herself of why she started, why she wanted to make a difference, and this renewed her strength. She also learned the art of storytelling, using her experiences to connect deeply with her audience. She practiced gestures, voice modulation, eye contact, and emotional expressions, turning her speeches into unforgettable experiences. She began receiving invitations from national media platforms to share her story on television and radio, and people wrote articles and blogs about her journey. She realized that her message was reaching far and wide, touching lives. She was invited to speak internationally, and she traveled to different countries, sharing her message across cultures, languages, and communities. She learned to adapt her speeches to diverse audiences while keeping her authenticity intact. Her courage inspired countless young women, especially those facing disabilities, to believe in themselves and pursue their dreams without fear. She faced moments when her past fears resurfaced, the memory of the accident, the whispers of doubt, and the physical pain. But she had learned to face fear head-on, to embrace vulnerability, and to transform challenges into opportunities. Every time she overcame a challenge, she felt her purpose deepen. She realized that her life had changed from one focused on personal dreams to one dedicated to uplifting others. Her mission had become larger than herself. She was Arya, a girl who had faced tragedy, fought through struggles, embraced challenges, and was now rising to inspire the world. She knew the road ahead would continue to test her, but she had learned that true strength came not from avoiding obstacles, but from facing them and turning them into victories. Her journey was a story of courage, perseverance, and hope, and every time she shared it, she reminded the world that obstacles could never define a person's potential. Only their courage and determination could. Arya's journey reached new heights as her voice began to echo across countries and continents. Invitations to international conferences and events poured in. She traveled by plane, trains, and buses, learning to navigate airports, hotels, and stages with her wheelchair. Her speeches were now broadcasted on television, streamed online, and shared on social media. She realized that her story had touched thousands, if not millions, of hearts around the world. Each speech was a chance to inspire, to teach, to uplift, and she embraced every opportunity with gratitude and humility. She became a symbol of courage and hope for disabled women and young girls who had been told that life had limits for them. She shared her experiences openly, speaking about the struggles of living with a disability, the societal prejudices she had faced, the moments of doubt and fear, and how she had overcome them. She emphasized that strength was not measured by physical abilities, but by resilience, courage, determination, and the will to never give up. She met influential leaders and advocates for disability rights and partnered with organizations to promote accessibility, education, and inclusion. She worked to ensure that schools, workplaces, and public spaces became more welcoming to people with disabilities. She shared her strategies for building confidence, self-reliance, and leadership. She mentored young women across the globe, encouraging them to pursue their dreams despite challenges. She launched workshops and online programs teaching public speaking, personal development, and resilience. She inspired women to speak up for themselves and claim their place in the world. She attended international panels, sharing her insights on gender equality, disability rights, and social justice. She spoke passionately about breaking stereotypes, challenging assumptions, and creating a society that celebrated differences rather than fearing them. She became a role model, not just for disabled people, but for anyone facing adversity, showing that limitations were only temporary if determination and hope were strong enough. She received awards and recognition for her work, but she remained humble, attributing her success to the support of her family, mentors, and the communities that believed in her. She traveled to schools, orphanages, hospitals, and community centers, meeting people personally, listening to their stories, and giving encouragement. She realized that personal connection was as important as public speaking, for it created lasting impact. She inspired movements, encouraging governments and organizations to implement policies supporting accessibility and education for women with disabilities. She gave lectures in universities, sharing her journey as a case study in resilience and empowerment. She wrote articles and blogs, spreading her philosophy of hope and courage. She became a mentor to countless young women around the world, helping them navigate education, careers, and personal challenges. She used her story as a blueprint, showing that tragedy could be transformed into triumph, adversity into opportunity, and struggle into strength. Her life became a living testimony that one person's voice could change minds, challenge prejudices, and ignite hope. She traveled tirelessly, yet she never forgot her roots, visiting her hometown often to speak at local schools and community events, reminding children and young women that dreams were possible no matter the obstacles. She was Aria, a girl who had faced unimaginable tragedy, transformed struggle into strength, embraced her calling, and used her platform to advocate, inspire, and create lasting change. She had become a global voice of hope and empowerment, showing the world that courage was contagious, determination was unstoppable, and hope could shine through even the darkest moments. Arya looked back on her journey and felt a wave of emotions. She remembered the carefree girl who ran through fields, laughed with friends, dreamed without limits. She remembered the moment of tragedy when her world seemed to collapse, and she had thought that all her dreams were gone. She remembered the struggle, the pain, the endless therapy sessions, the moments of doubt and fear, the nights spent crying silently, wishing life had been different, and she realized how far she had come. Every challenge, every obstacle, every setback had shaped her, had strengthened her, had taught her the true meaning of courage and resilience. She saw the faces of the people she had inspired, the young women who had found confidence, the disabled individuals who had discovered their potential, the audiences who had left her speeches feeling hope and determination. And she knew that her life had purpose, that her struggles had become a source of light for others. She thought about her family, the unwavering support of her parents, and the love of her brother who had believed in her, even when she doubted herself. She felt gratitude for her mentors who had guided her, and for every person who had believed in her vision. She realized that her story was not just about her. It was about all those who faced challenges and needed a reminder that they were capable, that they were strong, that they could rise above the obstacles society placed before them. She continued to travel, speak, and advocate, but now each word she spoke carried the weight of experience and the warmth of empathy. She told her audiences that setbacks were not endings, that challenges were opportunities, that courage was a choice, and hope was a powerful tool. She shared her lessons openly, honestly, and passionately, reminding everyone that life could test them, but it could also reveal their true strength. She founded programs to mentor young women and girls, teaching them to find their voice, to stand tall, and to dream boldly. She encouraged them to embrace their uniqueness, to fight for their goals, and to inspire others through their actions. She created scholarships for disabled students, helping them access education opportunities. She partnered with communities to make public spaces more accessible, inclusive, and welcoming. She worked tirelessly to ensure that no one would feel limited by circumstances or judged by society. She often returned to her hometown to speak to children in the very schools she had once attended, reminding them that dreams could be achieved with determination, faith, and courage. She shared her story with the world through books, articles, and videos, inspiring generations to come. She reflected on the little girl who had once dreamed under the old oak tree and smiled, knowing that dreams never truly die, they only grow stronger when met with courage. She felt a deep sense of fulfillment, knowing that her journey had touched lives and changed hearts. She realized that her life was not measured by what she had lost, but by what she had gained and given to others. She was Arya, a girl who had faced tragedy, transformed struggle into strength, discovered her purpose, and used her voice to uplift the world. She had proven that disability was not inability, that challenges were not barriers, and that a determined heart could illuminate the darkest paths. She closed her eyes for a moment, feeling peace, gratitude, and hope. She knew that her journey was a story that would continue through the lives she had impacted, through the courage she had inspired, and through the voices she had awakened. She smiled and whispered to herself that no matter what life presented, she had lived fully, bravely, and with purpose, and that her light would continue to shine forever.